Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. If the lake bed is dry, you can't quench your thirst. You need water. If you want peace, you have to know certain things. We are born into this world, but peace is not necessarily given to us automatically. We have to rely on peace through teaching and through our Lord. Our Lord is the one who has patience. He is the one who has contentment. He is the one who is serene. He is the one who is content with the situation that he is in. We need to learn this contentment. We need to learn this serenity. We need to be able to find peace. He is the one who has incomparable love, incomparable compassion. We need to come to know him. We have to focus on these things, and we have to constantly ask for forgiveness. In the time before we came to know truth, in the time before when we lived in ignorance, you can cause many disturbances. You can cause many fires. You can cause many problems. And all of us have lived in ignorance for a time before we understood a little about reality. And we have to constantly ask for forgiveness from those times when we were in ignorance and acted without knowing what is right and wrong. There came a time before creation when Allah directed Israel, one of the angels, to gather a fistful of earth. And he told him to go to all four corners of the earth, south, east, north, and west, to gather this fistful of earth. So this fistful of earth came from the entire world. And with this fistful of earth, Allah made man's heart. And this fistful of earth that was gathered from all over the world has everything in it. It has gold, it has silver, it has positive qualities, it has negative qualities, it has positive energies, it has negative energies, it has Satan in it, and it has God in it. All of this became our heart. Now, what is it that we tune into? When you plant crops in a farm, you plant all different kinds of crops with all different kinds of tastes. You get all different kinds of herbs and vegetables. Some of these herbs can cure diseases. Some of these vegetables can make you healthy. There are other ones, depending on your situation, that can make you ill. But what you have to do is understand all of the differences between these vegetables and what you can eat, what you should plant, and what you can't eat, and what you shouldn't plant. Like that, within this fistful of earth that became our heart, there are all these different kinds of energies. There are positive energies, and there are negative energies. And we have to decipher which are the positive energies and which are the negative energies. And we have to understand what is truth and what is falsehood. We have to be able to get to the point where we can come to know our God. We have to come to the point where we can merge with our God. But there's an understanding that we have to have. You can't merge with duality. In other words, you can't be you and merge with Allah. Bawa used to say, when I am here, God is not. And when I'm not here, God can be here. So the belief or the imagination that you can merge with Allah and still be who you are is a fabrication of our mind. It's a fabrication of our thought process that doesn't want to go through the change that has to be gone through in order for this merging to occur. The egocentric self that defines us before we know truth, wants to continue to be in charge of us. It wants to continue to be what rules us. And that can, in fact, happen. But if it happens, there will be no progress for us. There will be no movement for us. We will stay in the state that we are in, which is the torpor of the mind surrounded by the world. When we look at the world, we look at it with our mind and desire. And our desire tells us that we need the things in the world. It tells us that we have to grasp the things in the world. Men in the country, in the farmlands, have hunting dogs. And they train these hunting dogs to bring back small animals for them. They can bring back geese or ducks or rabbits. Now, the dog wants these for himself, but we take it from him. Like that, Satan, in many instances, has caught us, and he teaches us to go and grasp the world. And when we grasp the world, we bring it to him. He is the one that profits from it. We don't get any profit from it. There was once an Arab who came to the Prophet and complained that Satan was constantly bothering him and he wouldn't leave him alone. So the Prophet said to the man, come back in 3 days. In the interim, the Prophet called Satan and said, this man is complaining that you're bothering him all the time. And Satan said, me bothering him, he's bothering me. He wants all the things that belong to me. He wants earth, women, and gold. He wants fame and power. These are my things. And then the Prophet called the man back after he had spoken to Satan and explained to him that what is in the world is the realm of Satan. If you want to enter into the realm of God, you have to leave your attachment to the realm of the world. You have to leave your attachment to the glitters and the magnetisms of the world. You have to stop seeing the world through your desire. If you see the world through your desire, and if your focus in life is to obtain the things you desire, within the realm of this world, then you become an agent of Satan and you're working for Satan. And Satan has taken your consciousness and taken it away from God and placed it into illusion, placed it into the world, placed it into the quest to obtain elemental things. And all of these elemental things that you chase will do nothing for you. All of these elemental things that you accumulate will do nothing for you. One day, breath stops. And when that breath stops, everything you held on to in this world disappears. The store that you've been shopping in closes for you. The world closes for you. And your relatives will grieve for you for a day or two or three. But after 3 days, everyone forgets everything, forgets about you, forgets about everything about you, and they go on with their lives. This is the way of the world. So what is it that we have to do? We have to prepare ourselves for the reality of our existence. We have to understand what belongs to us and what doesn't belong to us. We have to understand what our home is and what our home is not. This body is not our home. This body is elemental and has a short-term existence. Our true home is in our heart, in God's kingdom that God has prepared for us to enter if we can leave the torpor of the mind. A parrot gets caught by a hunter and he gets put in a cage. And no matter how big the cage is that the parrot goes in, the parrot screeches. It doesn't want to be in a cage. When it was free, it may have lived in the trunk of a tree in a very small nest, but it was free. And that small nest gave it freedom. The cage can in no way give it freedom. And we have to understand that this cage that holds us, that is elemental and attached to the elemental things, cannot give us freedom, cannot give us peace, cannot give us tranquility, cannot give us serenity, cannot take us to a place where we are satisfied. The only thing that can take us to that place is to learn Allah's qualities. While we are in this world, it's like living in a refugee camp. We're here transplanted from our original home, and we've lost our homes. We've lost our place, and we have to re-find it. It's like these homes that they have for the homeless, where they stay for a night and then they move on. This is what the earth is for us, yet we think it's a permanent home, and it's not. In the same way that it appeared for us, it will disappear for us. And we somehow have to find a place for ourselves in truth and in wisdom. When we begin to understand the nature of Allah's qualities, we begin to understand truth. When we meet a sheikh and he begins to show us God's qualities, this is our introduction to reality. So the sheikh becomes our guide. He becomes our father. He becomes the one who brings us to truth. When a monkey gives birth to a baby, the baby holds on to the monkey, doesn't let go, and wherever tree the monkey jumps from and to, the baby is grasped onto it. In the same way, until we are big enough to walk on our own, we have to hold on to the sheikh. We have to follow every movement of the sheikh. We have to begin to understand the actions of the sheikh and the qualities of the sheikh. And we have to begin to imitate those actions and imitate those qualities. We imitate them until they become real within us. Once they become real within us, then a transformation can begin. When wisdom and truth enter into our being, then reality can happen for us and we can find our true home. And how is it in this world of illusion that we find wisdom and truth? And the way it's done is to understand the qualities of our Creator and take on those qualities and make those qualities for ourselves. Take on those qualities and become those qualities. But as long as we carry the world, nothing is going to change. It's like walking on a treadmill as you carry the world. There was a man and his son who were going to market and taking their donkey. And the father was riding on the donkey and the boy was leading the donkey. And then they passed a person who looked at them and said, "Look at that lazy old man making his little boy walk and he rides on the donkey." So they changed, and the man got down from the donkey and put his son on the donkey. As they went further, another person came by and said, "Look at that lazy boy making his father walk and he's riding on the donkey." So they changed, they decided, what are we going to do now? So they both got on the donkey and they were riding the donkey towards the market. And then somebody else came by and said, "Look at those people who have absolutely no compassion for their donkey. Both of them are riding on the donkey with the bags that he has, and they're weighing him down." So they got off the donkey and they were walking by the side of the donkey. Another man came by, and look at these stupid people. They have a donkey and they're walking. So they're trying to figure out what to do. So they got a long stick. They tied the donkey's feet to the stick. One put part of the stick on his shoulder, the other one put the stick on his shoulder, and now the two of them are carrying the donkey into their path. And then somebody else walks by and goes, "Look at these asses carrying their donkey. They should be riding the donkey, not carrying the donkey." So they take the donkey down, they untie him, and they look at each other and they think, what is it that we can do? He says, it doesn't seem that anything that we do is satisfactory. So they decided each to go their own way and leave the donkey behind. And this is what has to happen with us. The donkey is our mind, and we ride the donkey and the donkey rides us. We have to let go of this mind. We have to let go of seeing everything through seeing things through our mind. We have to take on a new perspective, a new way of seeing things. And this comes through staying close to the sheikh and watching the actions of the sheikh and understanding the qualities of Allah, understanding mercy, understanding compassion, understanding love, understanding kindness, understanding doing on behalf of others as opposed to grasping for ourselves. In this heart, which is the true home of man, where Allah resides, there's room for everybody, because there's no me there. There's no I and you there. There's no differences there. There's only unity there. And when there's unity, there's enough room for everybody. We have to begin to truly understand the concept of what merging with Allah means. Only God can pray to God. Only God can merge with God. When you take an iron bar that's been heated and you put it in water, the water becomes hot. There's no fire there, but the water becomes hot because there's fire inside the iron bar, and that fire creates fire within the water. There's a unity that passes from the iron bar into the water. For us to be able to merge with Allah, we must become Insan Kamil, true man. And what is true man? True man has left his attachment to the world. True man has left the torpor of his desire. True man has left the point of view of his mind. True man has left his egocentric self. True man is removed from the I and removed from seeing everything through the self, through seeing everything through self-motive. Allah is constantly giving. Allah has no thought of himself. Allah is everything and everyone. There is no differentiation with Allah and everything because he is within everything. So he is the greatest, he is the smallest, he is every concept that you can imagine. There is no differences in him because he is everything. We see ourselves as different. We see ourselves as separate. We see ourselves as either being bigger or smaller. Allah is big and small at the same time. Allah incorporates everything all at once. There are no differences in him. But man holds on to differences as if those differences somehow elevate him. And he has that concept because of his egocentric self wants him to somehow be bigger. And as he becomes bigger, as he gets more titles, as he gets more important positions, as he takes on more worldly responsibility, all of these things begin to weigh him down. And then he becomes like the donkey carrying such a load that it pushes him into the ground and eventually kills him. Man has to separate himself from the illusory glitters and titles and importance of the world. A wise man becomes very, very small. Bawa used to say to us, I am the most discarded creature on earth. I am the smallest of all the creatures on earth. I am an ant-man. He becomes small to disappear from the world. He becomes small so that the world doesn't influence him. He becomes small so he's not subject to the pulls and pushes of the world because he's so insignificant. And he thinks of himself in an incredibly humble way. We have to become humble like that. As we become humble, we can begin to understand the effulgent, exalted, graceful nature of our Lord. And we understand that our place with our Lord is servanthood. And that servanthood becomes our greatness, because it is through that servanthood that we take on his qualities. The prophet was known as Abd wa Rasulallah. Abd means slave. So before he was the messenger, he was the slave. Before he was the one who was cognizant of truth and could bring truth forth for others, he had to be a slave. He had to be one who did the service of his Lord. And how do you do the service of your Lord? What are the characteristics of one who does the service of his Lord? What is the nature of one who becomes a slave to his Lord? The greatest thing that we can accomplish in this lifetime is to become like our Lord. And it is in becoming like our Lord that we do service to him. By taking compassion into our being and becoming compassionate, we are doing service to our Lord. By becoming merciful, we are doing service to our Lord. By loving, we are doing service to our Lord. This is what he gives out to all of humanity and all of creation. And we can only give these things out in the way that he gives them out if we become like him. We can't be truly giving if we don't have compassion. We can't be truly giving if we're giving because we think it makes us bigger. Charity must be given with an open heart. Everything we give must be given with an open heart and without resentment. It must be given as if it is our duty to assist and give. Allah is the merciful, the compassionate, the sustainer, and the creator. So once Allah created us, he took on the responsibility of sustaining us, and he gives unto us out of the love that he has for us, which brought about creation. So we have to understand the nature of this love, the nature of the love that brought about creation. It was an act of overwhelming compassionate love that created us. So we were created in love to become love. Yet, if we separate ourselves from others, if we hold ourselves distant from others, if we consider ourselves more important than others, where's the love? Love is an act of unification. Love is an act of merging. Love is an act of doing away with differences, doing away with high and low. When someone holds a baby, there is no enmity for the baby. If the baby does what the baby does in its diaper, we clean it, but we clean it without resentment because of our love for the baby. Well, we need that kind of love for humanity. This is the kind of love that the Sheikh brings into the world and gives to all of the ones who are near him. And it is through being loved that we begin to understand what loving means. When we are loved with the intensity that a mother loves us, or with the intensity that the sheikh loves us, then truly we begin to melt in that love and begin to understand the true nature of that kind of love. As we understand that, we become closer to being a true man, because love is the petri dish that grows compassion and grows mercy and grows all of God's qualities. Through love, transformation occurs. And as we transform into love and take on God's qualities, then our heart becomes open to the arrival of Allah. And Allah begins to live within us. Now, when that occurs, man disappears. And man's disappearance means that his mind no longer controls him. His desire no longer controls him. Truth and wisdom are what control him. And truth and wisdom is the realm of Allah. And if we can enter into truth and wisdom, then our being becomes the home for Allah in this world. And when this elemental body falls away from us, that part of us that was the qualities remains, and then there is that non-dualistic merging. Only God can merge with God. Only truth can merge with truth. Only wisdom can merge with wisdom. And you can replace these words. Only wisdom can merge with God. Only truth can merge with God. Only love can merge with God. So we, in order for this merging to occur, must become pure. Anything within us that is not pure cannot merge. So for us to take that step towards a life in the light, we have to disappear. The words that we repeat over and over when we do the recitation, La ilaha illallah, which says, I do not exist, only God exists, means that that part of us which is not mercy, which is not compassion, which is not God's qualities, is an illusion. It doesn't exist, and it will disappear. For us to maintain eternity, for us to enter into eternity, we have to incorporate that which is eternal. And what is it that is eternal? It is only Allah's qualities. Now, people are afraid to make that change because they're afraid to lose themselves. They're afraid that all that they've known all their life will disappear. They're afraid of what the next phase is. Is the caterpillar afraid to become a butterfly? Is that metamorphosis a frightening thing or a exaltation? For us to become real, we have to lose the fear of losing ourselves. We have to welcome what comes next. We have to welcome entering into the realm of grace. We have to welcome entering into the realm of effulgence. We have to welcome mercy and compassion becoming who we are. We have to welcome truth and wisdom becoming who we are. And we have to welcome becoming small and humble. We have to give up our illusion of power, our illusion of grandeur, our illusion of ruling the world, and allow Allah to do what he does. And we have to give ourselves the status of his slaves. That status is the highest status that man can have. The prophet had the status of slave before he had the status of messenger. We have to understand that understanding. We have to understand that path and that way. We have to bring ourselves towards our Lord and allow our Lord a place within us to reside. We have to give up our refugee status. We have to give up our homeless status. We have to find our true home and our true residency. And our true residency is within the qualities of Allah. So somewhere in our life, we have to take on this journey towards those qualities. We have to take on this journey towards that understanding. We have to give up all of the small pleasures that we've accumulated during our lives. We have to give up all of the petty wealth that we've accumulated in our lives. And we have to strive for that true treasure, which is Allah's qualities. Imagine Allah is mercy, and he's willing to share that with us so that we can become mercy. Allah is compassion, and he's willing to share that with us so that we can become compassion. What is greater than Allah's sharing of himself with us? What is the greatest treasure we can hope to obtain other than Allah's qualities? So we have to set ourselves on that path. And we have to watch ourselves. We have to become critical of ourselves. We have to judge ourselves. We have to see where we are in accomplishing that goal and what is it that's holding us back. And we have to be able to let go of the things that are holding us back so that we can go directly towards our Lord and become at one with him. This is our goal. This is the path that Sufism lays out for man. We're not here to study religion. We're here to study God. We're not here to study the world. We're here to study God. We're here to come to know the truth. Yet we spend so much time on irrelevant facts and irrelevant studies and irrelevant things that we do. We need to concentrate on the truth and know what's important. And when we know, we then have to act. So we not only need to know God's qualities, know the way of the Sheikh, we have to act with God's qualities. Act in the way of truth. Act in the way of wisdom. And as we do that, truth will become who we are, and reality will open up to us, and the effulgence of our Creator will become our effulgence. May it be so for each and every one of us. May we come to know that place where we are no longer lost, but are found, and we are found within our Lord. May it be so for each of us. Ameen, ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.